If you're in the same approximate age group as I am and you watched the first Iron Man movie, you may have done like I did and busted out laughing when you heard this. If you came along a little while after I did, like my wife and children did, you may have wondered why I laughed.
Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with the heart of steel.
That's why. That little tune has represented Iron Man since 1966. Welcome to the Marvel Superheroes.
Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with the heart of steel.
As Iron Man, all jets ablaze, he's fighting against life with repulsor rays. Amazing armor,
Yes, Iron Man.
a blazing power.
Yes, Iron Man.
For a brief time that year, Marvel published some syndicated cartoons based on 5 of their most popular superheroes: Captain America, Thor, Namor the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, and of course my favorite, Iron Man. Calling these cartoons cheesy is an insult to cheese. They consisted almost entirely of panels from the comics, slightly animated to sort of bring them to life. Need to represent speech? Take an image from one of the comics and make the mouth move. Need to make Iron Man fly? Take an image from a comic panel and move it across the screen. I loved it, partly because it was so silly. But for the most part, the cartoons reenacted stories from the comics, and it was enjoyable putting voices to the images on the page. Each hero got 13 15-minute episodes. The thing is, each episode is broken up into 3 distinct parts, and each part has its own title. So when I got ready to review these, the first question was, do I review 3 5-minute episodes or 1 15-minute one? In the end, it came down to pure numbers. 5 characters make 68 15-minute episodes. On the other hand, 5 characters make 640 5-minute episodes. At 1 episode a week, that's a really long time. We'll do the 15-minute ones. I'm starting with Iron Man because, as I said, he's my favorite.
This is the laboratory of Anthony Stark, millionaire scientist and sportsman. His assistants are preparing to test a giant wind tunnel. In his office nearby, Tony Stark is being quizzed by newsmen about his new racing car.
Yes, gentlemen, this is the new Stark Special.
He's into nostalgia because that looks a lot like the car that won the Indianapolis 500 in 1936, not 66. That's probably why this guy blew the Stark Special's doors off in every race, including Indy in 1966. We've already seen the level of animation we're in for. I do like the voice actors, they were well chosen. I didn't find much of anything really interesting about any of them. They all seem to be solid character and voice actors and actresses who don't make a lot of noise. They just do their jobs and do them well.
I expect big things of it today in Minneapolis. I'd be there myself if the testing of the wind tunnel could be postponed.
Give our animators due credit, they're synchronized perfectly. But this segment is called Double Disasters, so we should start disastering.
Show the alarm! The wind velocity panel is going to explode! The wind machine's gone berserk! Help! Hurry! Contact Mr. Stark! Tell him what's happening!
That works. Stark assures them that Iron Man is on the premises and he'll take care of it.
Little does anyone dream who Iron Man really is.
This would happen today. Oh, well, there's an hour or 2 before race time.
Look! There's Iron Man now! But what could he do?
I know one way to make the fans stop whipping up a hurricane. I'll blow up a storm of my own.
Iron Man first appeared in 1963 in Marvel's variety comic Tales of Suspense. He was an instant hit and headlined that comic until he got his own. In the beginning, his armor was huge, bulky, and gray. It was Pepper Potts who suggested he paint it gold so he looks like a knight in shining armor come to save the day. He wore that armor for several years until the circuitry in it started to give out. That was when he created the familiar red and gold flexible suit that we all recognize today. It seems to me an equally effective way to stop that fan is to let it drag him into it. I doubt the blades can penetrate his armor, and the tunnel is a loss already. But let's see what his counterwind can do, besides make him carsick.
It's all just scrap metal now.
I'll report the damage to Mr. Stark. He'll check with you later.
First, he has to check over his armor and make sure it didn't sustain any damage.
All the compressible components expand perfectly. The air valve is okay. My electrical system is on the beam. Oh.
For all his wealth, intelligence, and everything else, Tony Stark is just like us. Where your average egghead like him would have it say something like error 936 or coronary pacemaker requires attention, his gets right to the point with fizzle.
My heart battery's weak. I'd better recharge them right now. Hey, what? It's the alarm. Somebody's tampering with the vault.
For those who don't know Iron Man's story, in the original, Tony Stark was a munitions manufacturer who was supplying weapons for the men fighting in Vietnam. While he was there demonstrating something, he was caught in an explosion and a piece of shrapnel hit him in the chest. In a few days, it would reach his heart and he would die. He was also captured, and the warlord who had him was going to make him spend his final days making weapons for him. The iron body is a big pacemaker that keeps his heart going. Without it, he's dead. He has to wear the chest plate all the time. Anyway, with the full suit of armor, he was able to take down the warlord and escape. He realized he had something here and ran with it. And not recharging it could lead to one of those disasters the title mentioned, but he has to go see what the problem is. He has a secret passage from his office to everywhere. How can you not love it?
It's Professor Shapanka, my most trusted scientist.
Iron Man. Stay back, blast you, you unhuman meddler. What are you, Stark's watchdog?
Considering what you're doing, I guess he needs one.
Iron Man, Stark's secret formulas in this vault are worth millions. Help me get them. I'll make you my partner in the most fantastic scientific discovery in the world.
Save your breath, Shapanka.
But I need the money for research. But I found the secret of eternal life. Think of it.
No, you think about it.
Later, Stark refuses to press charges and lets Shapanka go because he's such a great scientist and Tony is sure he's learned his lesson. We need to excise that phrase from our vocabularies because it's rarely true, if ever. It's a good thing his butt is covered in iron armor because this is going to bite him in it.
Our driver got bad sick, boss. Can't drive today. Shall I withdraw the car, or...
Oh, boy, that does it. No, wait a minute, Mike. I'll drive it. I'll be there. Iron Man will help me.
Oh, Tony, did you forget something?
Minutes after the roaring start, his Stark special is well out in front of the pack. Then...
Oh. What? The pain in my chest. My heart. Oh, I remember. I forgot to recharge my built-in battery. Oh. I feel like
Stark's losing control of car. It's skidding up the embankment. Good grief! He'll be crushed!
And that's the end of part 1. Part 2 is called Enter Happy Hogan.
Hold on, fella. I'll get you out.
go back before the car explodes.
Take it easy, pal. I'll be out of here in a jiffy.
But the flames, the gas.
Take it easy, I said. We'll make it. That was close.
Thanks, mister. But if you really want to help me, get me to a motel room quick.
The stranger doesn't ask any questions. There's a motel not too far away.
Alone in a locked room at last, Tony prepares to recharge his battery.
Everybody's got a word for it. Oh, he means, who's our benefactor?
What a comeback. I thought you were a goner.
Well, if it hadn't been for you, I don't know. Say, what's your name?
Harry Hogan. When I was in the ring, I was Happy Hogan.
Was? Did you quit fighting?
Yeah. I was soft in the heart. Couldn't finish a guy off. Couldn't hit him when he was on the ropes, helpless.
Well, Happy, here's something for you. To show how much I appreciate what you did for me.
Check for 50 grand. Say, that's hard to refuse, mister. But I didn't say to you for no fee. It was just reflex action.
But surely you can use the money?
Well, I can use as a steady job.
And that's how Happy Hogan became Tony Stark's chauffeur. Since he knows how to fight, he'll double as a bodyguard sometimes, and the two will become fast friends. He's called Happy because nobody's ever seen him smile. But there's one thing that might make him smile.
Pepper, meet Happy Hogan, my new chauffeur. Happy, meet Pepper Potts. And I'll leave you two to get acquainted. But watch out. She likes the strong, rugged type.
Mr. Stark has no idea what my type is.
Don't be bashful, kid. You're sure my type. Dream doll.
In the comics, Happy did say that, and he was smitten with Pepper from the very start. Thing is, when he met her, she looked like this. She didn't get the makeover until several issues in. Happy really dug the freckles, but when she transformed into a supermodel, he didn't argue much.
Really? I'm all shook up. Too bad you're not exactly another Tony Stark.
Ah, so that's it. He's my rival. He didn't act like it.
I know. But someday he'll notice me. And then... How does Mrs. Stark sound?
Yeah, a few years later, they got married. Tony knew Happy had it bad for Pepper, but Pepper was holding out for him, so at some point he took them aside and announced his engagement to a debutante somewhere. Suddenly, Pepper noticed Happy and realized he wasn't so bad after all. Elsewhere, Professor Shapanka is still working on his eternal life formula.
This cat has been frozen in ice for days. Now, when the ice melts, if it is still alive, I'll have succeeded. It's alive. It's in perfect condition. I'm a genius. I can live indefinitely in a frozen state.
He discovered cryogenics. Well, if he's frozen like that cat, at least he can't bother anybody.
But that would be no good. Locked up in a block of ice. So, I will create a freezing suit. It'll keep my body temperature down, but I will be alive and active forever. I will be able to freeze anything and anybody. And I will be safe inside my suit.
New York already has somebody who can do that. His name is Bobby Drake. He goes by Iceman, and he lives out in Westchester County. But before his guardian lets you in, he might want to pick your brain a little, so to speak.
You with that outfit. What do you want?
Money, my dear fellow. Money, cold cash.
Hey! He's turning into a snowman.
Now, while I clean out the vault, I'll put you all on ice for a while. Now freeze, all of you.
You know, instead of being a stereotype and robbing banks, he could sell the patent on this thing to produce companies and meat packing companies and make as much as he'll get from the banks, without the downside of eventually going to jail. Part 2 concludes with Shapanka fantasizing about what he's going to do to Tony Stark and Iron Man. Part 3 is called Of Ice and Men. Clever, eh?
A short time later, Shapanka is sliding through the city streets, headed for the office of Tony Stark.
Our bullets! They just turned to snowflakes! Hey! That's him! Jack Frost! Stop him!
When the NYPD realized what they were up against, they immediately equipped all their officers with 7-shooters.
Heavens, what's going on out there?
I want Stark. Where is he?
Why, how awful. Turned them all to ice. I must call the boss.
She says Jack Frost is after you. That's what the papers have been calling him, and he decided he liked it. Stark says, stay out of sight and wait for Iron Man to get there. Too bad she hung around to tell Happy what's going on, just long enough for Shapanka to freeze both of them. Next time, listen to the boss.
Now I got you. Iron Man. What are you doing here? I was going after you later.
Wait. I recognize that voice. Shapanka, it's you.
But regardless of who he is, Iron Man has several ways of dealing with him. You just don't see sound effects like "Krumph" anymore. It's a shame.
I can create as many ice arms as I need, see?
I'm beginning to feel cold. I'm becoming numb.
Tony Stark learns from his mistakes. The next version of his armor had long underwear built in.
I'll switch on my light beam. And turn quickly.
What? You startled me for a minute. What do you hope to do with that flashlight?
The eyes here, Professor. A small adjustment and my light becomes a heat ray. Like this.
In the beginning, Tony Stark was known for his work with transistors. They had been around since the 40s, but didn't start getting put into commercial products until after the war. In particular, Japan couldn't conquer the world by force, so they conquered it with cheap transistorized electronics. The idea of transistors caught on, and in Stark's world they were tantamount to magic. Take any piece of equipment, drop a transistor into it, and its power output increases by orders of magnitude. When I started reading Iron Man, I was in an electronics club at school, so I knew a bit about transistors and I knew that stuff was all crap. But I was willing to suspend disbelief to enjoy the stories. Here we haven't mentioned transistors, nor did he tell us what that thing is that he was holding. But fans of the comics knew, and we let it go by.
No, it's like a furnace. Turn it off. Turn it off.
When I'm sure you can't do any more freezing in that heat. Now I'll go and free Happy.
Why Happy? Because he's a big guy and he can keep Shapanka subdued until the police get there.
Do you think your cycle of bad luck is ended, Mr. Stark?
I'm sure of it.
Because it wasn't bad luck, it was somebody doing things they shouldn't oughta. I wouldn't be surprised if Shapanka sabotaged the wind tunnel that started all this.
Out of the bad came some good. Like my new right arm here. Happy Hogan. Hey, Happy, what's wrong?
Nothing, boss. Did you ever see a fella get something in his eye before?
See, Pepper, he's a sensitive guy to boot. Come on, give him a chance.
Iron Man, all jets ablaze. He's tight and slight with repulsor rays. Amazing armor.
Yes, Iron Man.
A blazing bomber.
Car that won the what? We should start good grief.